Okay, we're going to start with the nation. Governors NSA join forces to battle insecurity and food crisis. We paid $6.2 million on Emefiele's directive, says CBN director. 10 years after 1 billion naira deposit, NEMA yet to get aircraft. Fleeing kidnappers in Ekiti moved to Ondo, Amotekun claims. No plan to tax online content creators, says FIRS. Access Bank workers, we will sustain Wigwe's legacies. Nigeria's oil production up by 177,000 barrels per day in January. And challenges over soon, First Lady assures Nigerians. Okay, which story are we taking?
Should I take NEMA?
Oh, please.
So, according to the Office of the Auditor General of the Federation, in 10 years, the anomalies in the accounts of NEMA, that's the National Emergency Management Agency, is outrageous. Number one, at the top of it all, is that they paid about 1 billion naira for over 10 years, a deposit made to an Israeli company, and that's for an aircraft to use their services, and that aircraft has not been delivered for that 10 years, and that was since 2010. NEMA's defense is that they have secured a judgment in a debt recovery case, but the auditor went on. He says that NEMA also failed to manage to deduct and remit 19.2 million naira as VAT, that's VAT, and withholding taxes from payments made on supplies of relief materials and other services rendered to the agency. It's also said that not only that, they also failed to manage supplies well. They said items such as toiletries, mosquito nets, bags of cement, plenty procured for over 3 years before this audit in 2020 were allowed to rot in the warehouse. So you see that some of these stories about food rotting away somewhere is true. They said 96 million naira was paid to a consultant between 2014 and 2017 to acquire some sets for the construction of NEMA zonal offices in Enugu, Lagos, and Kaduna. These items covered by the contract included 3 project vehicles valued at 30 million, 2 demountable partitions for the Enugu and Lagos project sites. And all of this, of course, again, were not, there's no evidence that the items were procured.
Yeah.
Were there records to show. The details are many.
Right.
Not just what I'm taking, a lot of more. I will spend the whole day reading.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I'm hopeful that this audit will not end here. An investigation will go into those who benefited from the contracts.
Okay. All right.
Okay. I have Access Bank workers. They're saying they will sustain Wigwe's legacies. They said the atmosphere at the office of the Access Holdings Group on Victoria Island was expectantly somber yesterday. They said workers and visitors wore long faces as they moved in and out of the premises. They said some people were dressed in black, some in white. There was a condolence register that was open, and people were allowed to go in and make the register, and put down their messages. Also, media was not allowed to go through the register. I think there were some reporters that were trying to, film the register, and they said, management has said that was not, acceptable, which I think that's it. That makes sense, Some people are going to be putting in their heartfelt messages and will not want it public. So the report here says that they spoke to a few of the employees who spoke to them anonymously. All of them described him as really hardworking, that he changed, he took Access Bank and made it one of the very powerful banks in our country. They talked about also sustaining his legacy, even though he's not here. And, it's a promise that they'll continue to do that.
In addition to that, I know that the governor of Ogun State, Aliko Dangote, and quite a lot of other industrialists were in his house to visit his parents. It was a very painful visit. They tried to console, it's inconsolable, but they tried to console the parents there. And it was a very difficult, even though I wasn't there, but listening, I could feel the tension. I could feel how difficult it was. Reporters said that you could almost cut the atmosphere with a knife because it was so intense. You can only imagine.
Age of experience.
Yes, lose both their child and a grandchild at the same time. Really
the
sad.
daughter,
Our heart goes out
this is
to
their-
all of them.
His
Thank
wife.
Also, an acting CEO has been announced.
Yes, Bolaji Agbede, a woman, yeah. Okay, so our president's, the First Lady, Senator Oluremi Tinubu, was in Kano, where she tried to reassure Nigerians that the federal government is doing all it can to change the circumstances and put smiles on their faces. She was speaking in Kano. She spoke yesterday when she paid homage to the Emir of Kano, Alhaji Aminu Ado Bayero, on her way to inaugurate projects at the Kano campus of Mariam Abacha University of Nigeria. Although he told her that there's quite a bit of things happening, he's really worried about CBN moving to Lagos and found that he's not sure what the president's intentions are, but that's a major concern for many of his citizens, and that the pains of the people are really difficult this time. And she just tried to reassure him that the president, although he didn't start or initiate all these things, but he's definitely working with the government to ensure that their changes are made as soon as possible.
So the major headline is talking about how the governors and the NSA are going to be working together to battle insecurity and food crisis. So Nuhu Ribadu was speaking about the fact that there's a nexus between the security challenges and the food scarcity, and if we're able to resolve one, we can solve the other. He had a meeting with the governors to seek their collaboration, mentioned that 2 state governors were slacking off, but that he's reaching out to them to ensure that they also collaborate with NSA and the security operatives to ensure there's security within the states. Then he spoke to the fact that food is the issue of food scarcity is affecting people, because we noticed that there was protest in Kano and in Niger State, and he was talking about how they would have conversations to ensure that there is more availability of food for people to buy, so that it will reduce the tension within the states. Of course, PDP has okayed, PDP governors have okayed state police, and the NSA mentioned that they will be they had a meeting, an online session, to see how to reform the police, the Nigerian police force, to beef up, to enable them to properly secure Nigeria internally, because really we shouldn't be having the military deployed to every internal security challenge that we're facing, but that's what we seem to be doing now. So I'm hoping that with this, we're hearing a lot from Nuhu Ribadu concerning security, so obviously he understands that there is pressure in the country, and I'm hoping he's able to resolve the issue.
The Punch, we can't take the stories now, but Wigwe, FG-US begins talks as officials test choppers' wreckage. Minimum wage, private sector, states fault Labour's push for ₦1 million minimum wage. Outages, FG plans sanctions for non-performing discos. Kidnappers kill our driver for talking, says Ekiti school teacher. IMF forecasts $8 billion fall in Nigeria's 2024 foreign reserves. And NAFDAC insists on sachet alcohol ban as hoodlums attack officials. Still reviewing Punch, have a story?
So I have the organized private sector. Ekiti, Sokoto, and other states have faulted the demand by Nigeria Labour Congress for $1 million minimum wage, stating it is not realistic. So the NLC president, Joe Ajaero, in an interview, has said organized labour might ask for ₦1 million during the minimum wage negotiations with federal government if the value of naira continues to plummet. The Minister of Information and National Orientation said that the federal government would make a reasonable decision in line with national interest and after due consideration of available resources. The NLC says, in their own defense, they're saying that if you remember, we were contemplating 200,000 at one time, and the exchange rate was about 900 naira at the time. As we talk today, the exchange rate is about 1,400 or even more. Those are the issues that determine the demand, and it's equally affecting the cost of living. And we have also always said that our demand will be based on the cost of living index. He also mentioned that if you agree with me, the bag of rice is about 60,000 to 70,000 now. A bag of locally produced corn is about 56,000 naira or more. So these are all the things that they are looking at. And that's why they have mentioned that particular amount. Of course, we know that they will get to the negotiation table and a number.
So high,
but he also mentioned the fact that the 35,000 minimum wage that was agreed upon in October has not been fully implemented. It says some states did it for maybe a few months and then stopped. Some other states just did it for 1 month and it has not continued. So those are the things that, that they're looking at. They also talked about the no evidence of palliatives for workers, and how this is in line with what is happening in the humanitarian ministry. So definitely on Labour side, there are many issues on ground, valid in my opinion, and then we'll see how government addresses it. But private sector, many state governments are saying this is unrealistic.
Okay.
So I have the power outages. Just before we took this, the punch, we were talking about it. And the NERC, that's the Nigerian Electricity Regulation Commission, has said that all discos would be valued according to their performances, and if they fall below performance, they only get 50% of their operating expenditure that comes from the Federal Ministry of Finance, according to the, let me quickly get the name of, that's the head of the NERC, Useni is his other name, and he said that, they will be checking their performances. All 11 discos they'll be checking their performances and how power is faring under them to determine who will be getting what. I think that they should also work in collaboration, because they said they would have access to the meters of these discos, and they will measure their performances from there. I'm saying the meter that is with the discos. Ask us, the consumers. I have suffered the way I'm suffering right now. I've not suffered this outages like this. Last night we're supposed to be on our turn because it's rationed, and the light was given in 10 minutes. Taking 10 minutes, then 6 hours darkness, 10 minutes, 6 hours darkness. That's not power at all. And I would not expect that, such reading should not go and show that the disco is performing. And also, they should also check these discos who are declaring large profit on how many of their consumers are still on estimated billing. They should make sure that people are only paying for what they use. Those are the things that NERC is set up for.
All right, so IMF is saying that they are predicting that our foreign reserves will drop from $33.1 billion to $24 billion in 2024. They're not even projecting any, they're actually anticipating a more challenging period between this year and 2025. According to them, it says the country's financial account is going to be exacerbated by the absence of new Eurobond issuances and so many other factors they listed. They don't expect full recovery of our economy till about $38 billion by 2028, as the portfolio's inflows were forecasted to to pick up once again from 2028. I don't know how long we can wait till that, but that's IMF speaking anyway. But pretty much they're just saying that things are not just going to get any better this year and next year, anytime soon. That's according to IMF, but we believe that it will get better.
Believe in Jesus Christ.
Yes.
So NAFDAC has moved they've insisted on the ban of sachet alcoholic drinks and any PET bottle less than 200 milliliter. And the Association of Food, Beverages and Tobacco Employers and Distillers and Blenders Association of Nigeria, that they had signed an agreement in 2018 on this matter. That in 2018, they agreed that they were going to phase out over a 5-year period all their sachet alcoholic drinks and any PET bottle less than 200 milliliter. But the association is saying that they signed under duress. That they signed it because they felt that the then Minister of Health told them, that's what he said. They said they signed under duress, and the Minister of Health told them that if they did not sign it, they would have been completely banned immediately. So they signed it, and that there are about 500,000 jobs at risk right now. But NAFDAC is insisting they must do this because many people find it convenient to consume alcohol in sachets. Yes. And you probably don't know the quantity you are consuming. They said it's affecting road users because a lot of people consume these sachets and go on the road. Yes. And then they said children are buying, they find a lot of these sachets in children's school bags and all of that. So and now the enforcers, the NAFDAC enforcement people that are going to the streets to cut, they are being beaten by hoodlums and thugs on the road that you should not collect can you collect our drinks, our sachet drinks. So now we need to find another way to do it. What they can handle is the main producers. They probably will not be able to deal with the consumers. If you take out the products from circulation. From the production perspective, you would reduce it in town. People should buy big bottles.
If retailers don't get it from them, because they are selling
yes,
retailers
so
don't
let's
get
deal with the
from
right people. Then don't pack it from the retailers who have put their money
Okay,
into
Vanguard,
it. So
very
sad.
quickly. Let's find the story we've not taken. Edo Guba ESCO members won't participate in LP's indirect primary, says chairman. Kidnappers from Ekiti, Edo, Kogi invading Ondo, says Amotekun. YFG should consider ₦1 million as minimum wage, says NLC. Economy, we're almost on way to Venezuela, says PDP governors. Crisis hits Labour Party, Treasurer asks chairman to account for 3.5 billion naira. African Creators Summit, we plan to produce creative economy. And Emir of Kano to First Lady, tell your husband that Nigerians are suffering. Okay, which story?
Okay, I took a sports story. I mean, in the spirit of AFCON and everything. It's about the Super Eagles coach, the Portuguese handler, as he's been referred to. And the long and short of the story is that his contract will not be renewed. And this was a decision that they said they had actually come to, before the tournament, because the outing of the Super Eagles has not been particularly encouraging anyway. And they had said that whether they had won or lost at AFCON, his contract would not be renewed. They said, in fact, the reason why he even still went to AFCON, because his contract had actually expired, but there were some legalities that had to be sorted out. On the one hand, he said that his tenure had expired, but they said in his contract, he said until after AFCON before he can leave. So that was the only reason why he took them, but he's leaving anyway.
Okay, so I have the Edo Labour Party's indirect primaries. So ESCO members won't participate in the Labour Party's indirect primaries according to the chairman of the Labour Party in Edo State, Kelly Ogbaloy. Ogbaloy says that they have made a decision that ESCO members, office holders, and people already in positions will not be taking part in the primaries, and that there is no level of protest by individual, because there was a protest in February 4 by some people who led the protest to the party secretariat protesting to be part of the primary. Said no amount of protest led by faceless individuals will alter the party's arrangement not to enlist party officials as delegates in the primary elections. The party is working in line with its constitution and to ensure that primary elections will be done to produce the party's flag bearer transparently and credibly.
So the PDP governors were speaking in on the economy, and they said that Nigeria is on its way to Venezuela. They said the metrics,
God forbid.
as in exactly what I said. They said we have to just reject it, but they said that the forum is saying, based on the way the economy is going, the devaluation of the naira, the review of the monetary and fiscal policies, that the combination of our food challenges, monetary policies, naira devaluation, all of that is looking too similar to Venezuela, like we're on our way to Venezuela. Now, if you understand what's been happening in Venezuela,
have you seen those videos?
We don't want to be anywhere near there. But we also shouldn't just say, God forbid. We should look at it. If you go to the market is not as bubbling and as bustling as it used to be. So there is obviously food issues on ground that we need to address, not just say the God forbid part. So.
Yeah, I also remember, I also saw a recording of Emir Sanusi Lamido, and it was saying that, listen, he'll be untruthful if he says that what the government is doing is wrong, because this is something that has been happening for years, and it's just so, these are changes that had to be made. These are difficult times. It's not going to get any easier, but it would be unfair for him to say, listen, they're taking the wrong choices, because any economist will see literally that these are the steps that must be necessary to be taken at this time. They should have taken them years ago, but nobody had the will to do it the way. But right now it's difficult, but there's nothing we can do about this at this time. Really painful indeed. Let's take the Nigerian Tribune. Find a story of not taken. How CBN released $6.2 million to pay election observers. Bank director narrates in court. Nigeria almost becoming Venezuela. PDP governors warn. Alleged 6 billion naira Mambila power fraud. Agunloye queries EFCC's power to prosecute him. Enough of killings. Declare state of emergency on security. NUT tells Tinubu. All right, which story?
So I have the former Minister of Power, Olu Agunloye. His lawyer, Mr. Adeola Adedipe, was, before the court pleading an objection, a preliminary objection that his client should not be tried because the activities for which he's being tried were carried out as a public officer, that he was a former minister at the time he awarded the contract for the power plants without budgetary provision, approval, and cash backing. And he said at that time, these were not acts of criminality. They were not crimes at the time. They did not constitute financial crime. So the EFCC should not be the one trying him down. But the judge said that, that is not ripe for hearing right now, and he proceeded to hear the matter before him.
Okay, let's go. That's all we can take on Front Page Review this morning. Let's go on a short break. When we come back, move on to our next segment. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.